Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive,
Yes, welcome back.
where we like to take a really interesting study and just kind of unpack it for everyone out there
Yeah,
who is really interested in learning and hopefully learning effectively and efficiently.
absolutely.
And so today we are tackling a study about how we learn, especially when technology is involved,
That's interesting.
specifically
Yeah,
tablets.
always with us these days, right?
That's right.
The tablets.
Is
And the
this
study,
got it.
oh yeah, so the study that we're looking at is called Giving Learning a Helping Hand. Finger tracing of temperature graphs on an iPad.
Oh,
And it was published in 2015
okay.
in Educational Psychology Review.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
we're talking graphs on iPads.
Yes.
This is very specific.
Very specific.
But I think there's going to be some really good insights in here for us.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's interesting how this study kind of brings together technology and the way our brains work.
And then just these learning techniques that we can maybe utilize.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the real crux of it is like, does physically interacting with on-screen learning materials make a difference? Does
Right.
it actually help?
Yeah. So I guess that's our sort of mission for today,
Right.
is to figure that out, is to figure out if specifically the act of tracing something on a screen
Yeah,
helps us understand it better.
makes sense to me.
Okay, so
So let's get into it.
yeah, so like I just said, the big question here is, does physically tracing something on a tablet screen while you're learning help you learn it better? And this particular study used primary school children, so kids between 8 and 11 years old, and they were learning about temperature line graphs on iPads.
I like it very specific.
Yes.
So
Oh.
how did they set this up?
Yeah, so they had 61 participants,
Okay.
and they were divided into two groups.
All right. So control group, experimental group kind of thing.
Right, exactly. And both groups studied worked examples on an iPad.
Okay.
So they're all looking at the same material about how to read these temperature graphs.
Okay.
And they looked at both single line and double line graphs.
Okay. Got it.
But the tracing condition group
Oh yeah.
was explicitly told to trace the highlighted and circled information on the screen with their index finger.
Oh, okay.
Whereas the non-tracing condition group was
Yeah.
just instructed to look at the same highlighted and circled information.
Interesting.
So no touching for them.
Gotcha. So same visual input,
Right.
a different interaction with it.
Exactly.
Cool.
So this study wasn't just randomly put together.
Right.
There were some theoretical ideas that went into it.
There has to be, right?
Yeah.
What are we working with here?
Yeah, so the first one is cognitive load theory.
Okay. I've heard of this one.
Yeah, me too.
So this is the one where your working memory has a limited capacity
Right.
and it can get overloaded.
Yeah,
And that can kind of mess with your learning.
that's right. And so the researchers were curious if tracing might help to manage this cognitive load.
Interesting. So if you free up some of that working memory, does the learning stick better?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay.
And the second theoretical idea that went into this research was embodied cognition.
Oh, okay. I'm less familiar with that one.
Yeah, so embodied cognition is this idea that our physical actions and our bodily experiences can actually influence our cognitive processes, like our thinking.
Interesting.
So they were looking at whether this very biologically primary act of finger tracing
Right.
could actually support the learning of this sort of more biologically secondary
Yeah.
knowledge, like reading graphs.
Okay, so biologically primary would be something like,
Ah,
I don't know, walking.
right, or like grabbing something.
Yeah, something we just inherently know how to do.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like hardwired into us.
And then the secondary stuff is the
Yeah.
stuff we have to learn in school.
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so they're sort of saying, is there a connection there? Can this thing that we just do
Yeah.
naturally help us learn these things that are more complex?
Right? Fascinating.
Yeah. Okay, so what did they find? What were the key results of this study?
All right, lay it on me.
Okay, so they found that the tracing group actually performed significantly better on what they called transfer test questions.
Transfer test questions. That's
Okay,
great.
so these were questions that required the students to apply the knowledge that they had learned in slightly different ways
Yep.
than what they had seen in the worked examples.
So not just rote memorization,
Oh,
but
right.
actually like applying the knowledge.
Exactly.
Okay.
But when it came to the similar questions
Yeah.
that were directly mirroring the worked examples,
Uh-huh.
there was no significant difference in performance between the two groups.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it seems like both groups were able to kind of grasp
Yeah.
the basic concept. And there also wasn't any significant difference in the time that it took for each group to
Mhm.
answer the test questions.
Oh.
And neither group reported finding the worked examples to be significantly more difficult
Okay.
than the other group.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what's going on here?
I know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Like, why is tracing better for these transfer questions,
right.
but not the more straightforward ones?
Yeah, so for those transfer questions, the researchers suggested that maybe the tracing helped the kids build better schemas.
CMOS.
Yeah, which are basically like mental frameworks that
Ah.
help us understand information.
So it's like a structure in your mind that you can hang new information on.
Right, yeah. And so they thought that this act of tracing was helping them build these schemas better.
Interesting.
And for the similar questions where both groups perform the same,
Yeah.
they kind of theorized that the worked examples themselves were so clear and step by step that both groups were able to learn just from that really explicit instruction.
Okay, makes sense.
And as for the perceived difficulty,
Yeah.
why didn't one group say this was harder than the other?
Yeah, especially those little kids.
Yeah, I don't
You think they'd
know.
complain if it was hard?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the researchers thought maybe this has something to do with just the age of the participants and
Mhm.
how kids at that age perceive their own
Yeah.
cognitive load.
They probably don't have the best insight into that at 8 years old.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to this idea of biologically primary versus biologically secondary knowledge.
Okay. Yeah. I'm still kind of chewing on that one.
Yeah, well, the researchers were really interested in this because they were using the work of David Geary, who sort of came up with this distinction.
Yeah.
And so, as we talked about earlier, biologically primary knowledge is that stuff that we just kind of learn naturally
Right.
just by being human and being in the world.
Like knowing your mom's face.
Right, or learning language. Yeah.
And biologically, secondary knowledge is the stuff that we have to really put effort into to learn.
Okay, so like calculus.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so they were basically suggesting that maybe this biologically primary act of tracing
Uh-huh.
could actually help us
Right.
learn these more complex biologically secondary skills.
I see.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's really fascinating.
So using something we're already good at
Yeah,
to get better at something that's difficult.
that's right.
I like it.
And the researchers, they brought up other research that kind of supported their findings.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so one example was the human movement effect,
Okay.
which is this idea that watching hand movements like in an instructional video
Mm-hmm.
can actually improve our learning of motor skills.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So if you see somebody doing something,
Uh-huh.
you're more likely to learn it than just
Right.
hearing about it or reading about it.
Exactly.
Okay. And they also talked about this practice that's used in early literacy called print referencing,
Oh, yeah.
where adults trace words with their fingers while they're reading to children.
Yeah, like to help the kids follow along.
Right. And this has actually been shown to help kids develop their own literacy skills.
Makes sense.
And then they even brought in these things called sandpaper letters that are used in Montessori education.
Okay, I've heard of those.
Yeah, so these are letters that are basically cut out of sandpaper,
Yeah.
and the kids trace them with their fingers while they're learning the sounds of the letters.
So again, like using multiple senses to learn.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they also referenced this idea, this hypothesis called the information packaging hypothesis.
Okay, that one sounds complicated.
Yeah, it is a little bit, but basically it suggests that physical gestures can help us kind of organize information in our minds.
Oh, okay. So it's like putting things in different boxes
Right.
so you can find them later.
Yeah, exactly. And this can help to reduce the load on our working memory.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Speaks to me.
Yeah. And then finally, they talked about some studies that found benefits for adult learners when they traced text and diagrams on paper.
Okay, so not just little kids,
Right.
but grown-ups too.
That's right.
Okay, so it seems like this whole idea of physical interaction and learning is pretty widespread.
Yeah, it seems to be something that comes up a lot.
Yeah.
So what makes this study so special?
Right, because we've seen this stuff before.
Yeah, we have.
So what's new here?
Well, what makes this study unique is that it looked specifically at tracing on a tablet interface.
Oh, okay.
So as tablets have become more and more common in education and in our lives in general, it's becoming really important to understand how these touch-based interactions might be affecting how we learn.
Yeah, because it is different than tracing on paper.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so this is good information.
Yeah, and of course, like any study,
Right.
this one had some limitations in some areas that the researchers themselves thought could
Yeah.
be explored further.
Yeah. What did they miss?
So one thing that they mentioned was the difficulty in measuring cognitive load in young children.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, how do you really know what a kid is thinking,
Right.
especially a young kid?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they suggested that maybe using visual scales with like facial expressions or something
Yeah.
might be a better way to gauge how difficult kids are finding something.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Much more intuitive than like a number scale.
Right.
Yeah.
They also acknowledged that they couldn't be totally sure if the kids in the non-tracing group were actually looking at the highlighted information.
Right, because they didn't have to touch it.
Exactly. So they couldn't really verify if they were paying attention.
Yeah, maybe they were just daydreaming.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So they suggested that future studies could use eye tracking
Oh, yeah.
to really see where the participants are looking.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Like really know what they're paying attention to.
Right.
Yeah.
And they also suggested that future research could look at the long-term effects of tracing.
Okay.
So would we still see these learning benefits weeks or months later?
Right. That's a good question.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting to know.
Right. And then also, how effective would this technique be in a real-world classroom setting?
Right, because this was a controlled lab experiment.
Right.
So it's not exactly the same.
Yeah, a lot more distractions in a classroom.
Yeah.
And then another interesting question they brought up was whether the effectiveness of tracing might depend on a learner's prior knowledge.
Okay, so like if you already know a little bit about the topic,
Yeah,
is tracing still helpful?
right. Or is it maybe more helpful for beginners?
Mm.
And then finally, they suggested that it might be interesting to compare tracing to simply watching an animated hand trace the information,
Oh, that's a good one.
right? Like, would that be just as effective?
Yeah, because then you're not getting that physical interaction,
Yeah.
but you're getting your attention drawn to the important stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good research question.
Yeah. So lots of really interesting future directions.
Lots to explore.
Yeah. But let's bring it back to our listeners out there who are, always looking for ways to learn better.
Yeah, that's right. They're busy people.
They are.
They got stuff to do.
So,
So what's the big takeaway?
well, the main takeaway here is that physically interacting with what you're trying to learn on a tablet screen, specifically by tracing it with your finger, can actually be a really effective way to make that information stick.
Interesting.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to learn something complex.
That's good.
So, if you're trying to master a new skill or a new concept,
Yeah.
it might be worth incorporating some kind of physical interaction into your learning process.
Okay, so like if you're reading an article online,
Huh.
maybe you could try highlighting the key points with your finger.
Exactly. Yeah, and that might help you really absorb that information.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So I guess what we're really saying here is think about how you're using your digital devices and how you can maybe incorporate some of these more deliberate physical interactions
Yeah.
to really boost your learning.
I like that.
Yeah,
Food for thought.
for sure. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.